Tanya Plibersek has slammed Peter Dutton over comments he made claiming Labor candidate Ali France is using her disability as an excuse. Ms France is running against the Home Affairs Minister in the marginal Queensland seat of Dickson. Tanya Plibersek spoke about the issue a little earlier.
This just blows me away. You know, Peter Dutton talking about making excuses. What's his excuse for spending more time in his Gold Coast beachside mansion than right here in Dickson in the electorate that he's supposed to represent? What's Peter Dutton's excuse for the cuts to schools and the cuts to hospitals and the cuts to disability services? What's Peter Dutton's excuse for being voted by doctors the worst health minister in living memory? What's Peter Dutton's excuse for knocking off Malcolm Turnbull and then not even having the votes to win the ballot for the leadership? What's Peter Dutton's excuse for saying to people with disability right across Australia that there's somehow something wrong with them? What's Peter Dutton's excuse? And frankly, what's Scott Morrison going to do to pull him into line? Because I say this to Scott Morrison. Just days ago, he was out there saying that we should be more respectful of people with disability. Now, one of his most senior ministers is laying the boot in, and what's Scott Morrison going to do? He's going to walk on by. I say to Scott Morrison, the treatment you walk past is the treatment you accept. If he is prepared for Peter Dutton to be saying this sort of thing to, not Ailey, I'm not talking about her as an individual, I'm talking about millions of people who have heard this morning from Peter Dutton, a senior member of the LNP, of the coalition government, that it's fine to put the boot in to people with disability. What's Scott Morrison going to do about that?
Do you think it was a deliberate comment, or do you think he was...
Do I think it's deliberate? Yeah, I do think when you talk to journalists in this way about your opponent, it's deliberate. And not only is it deliberate, but it's just so hypocritical. I mean, this is the guy, I think at last count he had 9 homes, you know, maybe one of them's in the electorate. Great, good on him. But we all know that he likes to spend time, not in Dickson, but on the Gold Coast, in his mansion, walking along the beach. That's a nice life. I don't blame him for that. But to be criticising Ailey when he spends so little time here, you actually need an armed escort to get into his office. I don't know if anybody locally has tried recently to get an appointment with Peter Dutton or his staff, but you know what it's like trying to get through the security cordon to actually see your local member face to face on the rare occasion that he's in the electorate. I mean, how hypocritical is this guy? How hypocritical is someone who actually didn't want to represent the voters of Dickson? He actually tried to leave this electorate for a safer seat on the Gold Coast, and when the Liberal Party on the Gold Coast didn't want him, he came crawling back to Dickson with his tail between his legs and said, oh, I suppose this will have to do.
That's the Labor Deputy Leader Tanya Plibersek there responding to comments. Fairfax has reported today that Peter Dutton has said that his Labor opponent in the seat of Dickson, Ali France, has been using her disability as an excuse for not yet buying a home in the seat. So we'll probably hear a little bit more about that this afternoon. Now, in a week